This video is brought to you by SoccerPro.com. Be sure to visit SoccerPro.com for all the latest soccer gear at everyday low prices with no membership fees. Don't forget to use coupon code SR4U at checkout for $10 off a $75 purchase, plus free shipping within the US. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a comparison video between the Adidas adiPower Predator and the Adidas Predator LZ. The adiPower being the previous model and the Predator LZ being the newest model that a lot of people are getting really hyped up about. People always get hyped up when there is a new Predator release. There's a lot of hype around the new Predator simply because it was significantly different than the past Predators in that it was lightweight and it did a lot of things different. It kind of incorporated that sprint frame technology that made the AdiZero so successful. And the Predator LZ is kind of gaining so much hype mainly because of the marketing power that's been behind it, and that it's significantly different than all of the Predators that it's basically replacing. It's not so much a power boot anymore, but kind of one of those all-in-one shoes where it's supposed to be a power boot, a control shoe, a lightweight speed boot. It's trying to be that all-in-one, and it's significantly different than anything the Predators have been, which has made a lot of people happy and a lot of people not so happy. If we start with the upper of these two shoes, the adiPower uses a Taurus leather upper, which is essentially a fancy word for calfskin. The quality is okay. It's not as good as it could have been, not as good as like a kangaroo leather upper, let's say, but you see Adidas is going really towards this kind of Taurus leather material, this calfskin material, and the quality of it is pretty good, but I do think the quality would be a little bit better had they used a kangaroo leather upper, a more premium material, I guess you could say. It also does stretch it quite a bit, so I did recommend going down half a size in the adiPower if that is your thing. The upper on the Predator LZ is not leather at all. This is the first Predator that is not going to be available in a natural leather upper. The upper here is a synthetic leather essentially, kind of a material meant to be somewhat like the Kangolite from Nike, a synthetic made to feel like leather. And while it does have the finish and the appearance of leather, it really doesn't feel like leather. And just to say why it's not leather in the first place, I think that the reason that this shoe is not leather is because of all these rubber elements along the shoe. I don't think that a leather shoe would have been able to handle all of this rubber on the shoe. There would have been no way to really stick it onto the upper so it stayed there, which is probably why we saw a synthetic version this time around. But the synthetic itself, it doesn't have very much padding to it. It's more of a I guess it would be a slightly padded synthetic, but very little padding at all. And then you have this kind of padded thing on the instep here. Basically, it's a memory foam insert, which I really like. Probably my favorite part of the Predator LZ. Really nice. But if you're really looking for that leather feel, it's not going to really offer that. But the material of the upper is not so much going to provide the feel on the LZ, rather than all of the rubber elements that kind of do their own little thing on the shoe. As far as the striking elements go, or the Predator elements, I guess you could say, the adiPower uses a pretty simple one. It's basically this instep here. It goes a little bit into the midfoot as well, and it's a very soft, very abrasive rubber that there's really nothing behind it. It's fairly thin striking element, but it really did a good job of grabbing the ball, and really it did grip the ball a fair amount. It's not super bulky. It's the least bulky of the Predators, I guess you could say. Very flexible, but did a good job, and it really did feel good when you did strike the ball on this Predator element. A lot of people did complain that it was a little bit too... I can't say a lot of people, but I found it not to be big enough, I guess you could say, for a striking element. I feel like a shoe that's marketed as a power shoe should have a little bit more bulk to it. But again, striking the ball in this shoe felt really good. The element does its job, and overall the shooting experience is pretty good. The Predator LZ is a little bit different in that you have basically 5 zones, which are the lethal zones. You have this little padded insert on the instep. You have this little swerve spot on the inside of the toe. You have this striking element on the top here. You have a control element on the top of the toe, and you have what is essentially a dribbling element on the outside of the foot. The striking element is what we'll basically talk about here, because that's really what you're going to be using most of the time when you do strike the ball. And it is a thinner, it's the thickest of all the elements on the shoe, but it's a thinner, very aggressively textured, I guess you could say. But it does a good job. It adds, You can definitely feel it when you strike the ball, but again, it's very minimalistic in comparison to past Predators, and it's not going to provide a ton of extra feel, I guess you could say, to the ball when you do strike it on this zone. To me, that it was a little bit of a disappointment as far as how it actually felt when striking the ball. Don't get me wrong, it did feel good, but it's nothing revolutionary, and it's nothing that the adiPower really didn't provide. It's very similar as far as feel in comparison to the adiPower. This little extra thing on the inside as well provided some extra grip. Again, not a huge amount of grip when striking the ball. It was made to kind of allow you to swerve the ball a little bit better. And while I think it does add a little bit of grip, it's nothing that's going to really change the outcome of your shot dramatically, where you're going to be able to swerve the ball so much more. Then of course you get this little control element on the top here. Again, this is probably one of the least noticeable things on the shoe. The rubber here is not exactly grippy rubber. There's not a whole lot there. Then of course you get these outside elements here, which are a little bit more sticky, a very kind of soft rubber, I guess you could say. And it provides just a little bit of grip on the ball when you do touch it on that area of the foot. Basically when dribbling at speed, it provides a little bit of grip, which some people will like, some people may not like. The overall feel of these two shoes is completely different as well. The feel of the adiPower is going to be basically a thin leather shoe, I guess you could say, more on the lightweight side. But if you are kind of looking for that more traditional feel, the adiPower is going to provide that a lot better. Where the LZ offers a very grippy feel. It's unlike any shoe I've really ever worn. If you're not a fan of having a ton of grip on the ball, which I really never was. I've never been a big fan of the rubber elements, which is why I was really skeptical going into wearing the Predator LZ. It did take some getting used to, but after wearing it for a little while, I came to like the shoe. Keep in mind that it provides a ton of grip. There's not a lot of cushion to the actual upper, but there's a ton of grip from the rubber. So if you're one of those people that likes to drag the ball a lot when dribbling or stuff, you may not like the Predator LZ simply because it may grip the ball a little bit too much. But after using it, getting used to it, I really did come to like the Predator LZ. I like the feel of the rubber, and while it appears to be over the top, it really doesn't feel over the top, I guess you could say. It serves its purpose. Is it going to really improve your control or make your shot more accurate or allow you to swerve the ball a little better? Not really, but it's going to offer a completely unique feel that I think a lot of people like, given that they give this shoe a try. But again, completely different than any of the other Predators really on the market. The stud pattern in Soleplate are something that's really changed from the adiPower to the Predator LZ. And again, it's another thing that makes the LZ so unique in comparison to the other Predators. If we start with the adiPower, you get a pretty standard stud pattern with the pretty standard Adidas traction stud pattern with the blades and all the way through. Of course, you got the little adizero stud in the middle here, and then the very small version of the power spine in the adiPower. The Soleplate itself on the adiPower it was loosely based off of the adizero stud pattern, which is what makes the adiPower such a light shoe in the first place, and really made for a successful product from Adidas, which is why we saw it introduced into the Predator on the adiPower. The power spine itself is significantly smaller than we've seen it on pretty much all of the other Predators, and to me seemed like a pretty insignificant technology ever since it was introduced, simply because it never seemed to be big enough to really allow for the Soleplate to really become stiffer. The only one that I really did like it on was the Predator X, simply because it really did stiffen that Soleplate. It's one of the stiffest shoes on the market, but it felt really great when shooting the ball, simply because it really didn't allow the Soleplate to bend back at all. The power spine on the adiPower is just, to me, it's a little too high forward. I should think it would be a little bit bigger, a little bit further back to really stiffen the shoe a little bit better. And the adiPower is really the least stiff shoe when it did come out. It's the least stiff Predator on the market. I know a lot of people argue with me against that. But basically that's what the adiPower thing. It had the one-piece heel counter. And overall I really did like the Soleplate. It was a really good Soleplate and nobody really complained about it. They liked the inclusion of the power spine. And I really think it was a successful design by Adidas. But the Predator LZ kind of goes in a completely different direction, introducing a basically ulterior stud pattern Soleplate to the adizero. The actual stud pattern itself is completely the same. There's no difference whatsoever. You get the triangular studs running through. It's identical to what you have on the adizeros. What's different here is basically the Soleplate. The Soleplate it seems to be a little bit thicker plastic, I guess you could say. I wouldn't say that it's stiffer at all. I would actually say that it's less stiff, but it seems to be a little bit more flexible. The plastic seems to be a little bit different. So instead of that very rigid, almost brittle plastic that you have on the adiZero, it's more of a flexible plastic, and it seems to be a little bit more smooth when flexing the foot. I actually prefer the stud pattern to the adiZero, sorry, the Soleplate to the adiZero, simply because it is a little bit more flexible and it felt a little bit more natural when running. But I can see why people might not like it on a Predator, simply because it's not going to provide that same stiffness or solid feel that all the other Predators really have been successful in providing. You also get the MyCoach slot on the LZ, which is not a huge deal. A lot of people are big fans of the MyCoach thing. I'm currently testing a model, so keep on the lookout for a MyCoach review. But you do have that option with the LZ, which is definitely nice that they include that on the new Predator. As far as weight goes, the adiPower and the Predator LZ are pretty much the lightest Predators ever made. The adiPower is really light. It had a listed weight of just over, I believe, 7.8 ounces. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I believe the Predator LZ has a listed weight of around 8 ounces. So they're really lightweight, especially for shoes that are supposed to be power boots or control boots. I know the Predator LZ is a little bit different, but they're made to be that more hefty, kind of a little bit more solid soccer shoe. So for them being lightweight, it's a little bit unique. The adiPower, keep in mind these are both size 9. They're both used pairs. So the listed weight might be a little bit higher than it would normally be. And in real time, the adiPower weighs in at 7.95 ounces, so weighs in at just a little bit above listed weight, 7.95 ounces, just about 8 ounces, but still very light for such a solid fitting, solid feeling shoe overall. Predator LZ here, put that on the scale, it weighs in at 8.4 ounces, so it weighs a little bit more, which to me is a little bit surprising considering they went with a synthetic upper and the adiZero-esque sole plate, but I could imagine that the rubber itself adds in those 0.1 ounces, especially because of how much rubber there is on the shoe. But that's basically where the extra weight is. But again, that 0.4 ounces, is that something you're going to notice between these two shoes? No, they're both really lightweight, especially for more solid fitting shoes. The adiPower being a more solid fitting shoe. As far as fit goes, I'm not sure that I mentioned the fit so far. The fit is a lot wider on the adiPower. The forefoot's really wide, especially since the leather stretches so much, where the midfoot is a little bit more narrow, and again you have that wider heel as well. Where the LZ is a little bit different. It's a little bit tighter fitting. It's more narrow all the way through, I guess you could say. There's not a wider forefoot and a narrow midfoot and then the wide heel again. It's kind of the same width all the way through. And for synthetic, it's probably Adidas' best fitting synthetic shoe on the market. It fits better than the adiZero synthetic. But again, something is slightly off about the shape. But overall, I have to say that the adiZero, the LZ stud shoe fits a little bit better. You can see just the toe box alone is significantly smaller on the LZ as opposed to the adiPower. So that's for me, I preferred the fit of the LZ, but if you did have a little bit of a wider foot or a foot that kind of requires a little bit more custom fit, the adiPower is going to fit you a little bit better simply because the leather is going to stretch a little bit and allow for a more custom fit, I guess you could say. But there you go, guys. That's the kind of the comparison between these two shoes. If I had to pick a favorite here, I'm actually going to say that I probably prefer the LZ, simply because it to me it fit a little bit better, and I actually like the little bit of rubber when it came down to actually wearing the shoes. If you want to check out the full written review for both of these shoes, the adiPower review is already up. The LZ review will be up in about a week or so. If you're seeing an annotation right here, that means the review's already up. Go ahead and check that out. Full written review, high quality pictures, buy now links will all be on those pages. So go ahead and click the link in the description, check those out, soccerreviewsforyou.com. Any questions you guys have related to the video, go ahead and leave that in the comment section down below. And any questions you guys have not related to the video, go ahead and leave that on my Facebook page. There'll be a link in the description to that as well. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.